Hi everyone, for video 3 of absolute value equations and inequalities, I'm going to show you how to use the calculator to solve absolute value equations. So the first equation that we're going to be looking at is going to be the absolute value of 2x plus 3 is equal to 12. And we're going to use our graphing calculator to graph out the image and then locate where the solutions are going to be located. So in order to do that, we are going to want to go to our y equals screen. And then we're going to go ahead and basically take that equation that I gave you and we're going to break it into two pieces. So one piece is going to be your absolute value. So to get your absolute value, I would say the quickest way to do that would be to press the second key and then go down to catalog, which is going to be found on the 0 key. And the first option that you see here, ABS, is an abbreviation for absolute value. Depending on the model of your calculator, you might actually see the absolute value symbols here, or you might just see ABS with an open parenthesis. So from here, we'll go ahead and we will type in 2x plus 3. And that was the left-hand side of our equation. Our right-hand side was 12, so I'm going to put that in. The next thing that I'm going to go ahead and do is, I know that right now my graphing window is a 10 by 10, so I'm going to play with my window first. So I'm going to go into the window key, and I'm going to go ahead and maybe push everything out just a little bit. I think I'm going to do negative 15 to positive 15. And I'm just going to leave the scale alone for now. I don't think that that will really hamper us if we leave it at a scale of 1. And again, I'm going to do the same thing for my y max and min, and I'm going to leave that as a scale of 1. So now that I've adjusted my window, I'm going to go ahead and hit graph. And again, we want to know where our solutions are going to be located, and it's actually going to be where our two graphs, so our one in blue and our one in red, are intersecting. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and do second and trace. If you recall from previous videos, I'm going to now choose option 5, which is going to be for intersect. So I'm going to have to do this 2 times because I see that I have 2 places where our two equations are intersecting one another. So I'm closer to the one on the right, so I'm going to go ahead and find that one first. So I'm on my first curve, and I'm just going to get kind of close. I don't have to be directly on top of the intersection. I'm going to hit enter. And now let's move the cursor to my function where y sub 2 is equal to 12. And I'm going to leave it where it is. It's close enough. So I'm going to hit enter. And then I know that one of my solutions is going to be x is equal to 4.5. Because again, that's the variable that I'm interested in solving for. So now I need to find the other one. So you're basically just going to reset. You're just going to hit second and trace. And now you're going to tell the computer, or the calculator again, I want to do an intersection. So I'm going to hit enter. And now this time I want to move everything over to the left side where this intersection is. That's pretty close. I'm going to hit enter. And the calculator helped me out by putting the cursor pretty close. So I'm not going to move it. I think it's good. And hit enter. And then it's saying, do you want me to guess? And it's like, well, we've come this far. Why not? So then we find that our other answer is x is equal to negative 7.5. Let's take a look at another problem. This time let's take a look at something a little bit more complicated. So what you see here, we have 4 minus the absolute value of 2x plus 1 is equal to 3 halves times x minus 1. If you wanted to, because 3 halves would convert to a nice terminating decimal, you could write 1.5 here if you wished. So again, let's go through this process. I'm going to go ahead and go into my y equals screen, and I'm going to clear out my previous entries. So what you just need to do is have your cursor on the line that you want to clear out, and then just hit the clear button. And that will remove everything. And again, I'm going to type everything in as I saw it on the previous screen. So I'm going to do 4 minus, and then I'm going to do second 0 in order to get the absolute value. And I'm going to do 2. Your variable key is next to alpha and your stat key, so it's sandwiched in between them. And then we're going to do plus 1. And then I'm going to arrow down to the next line to write what I had on the right-hand side. So I'm going to do 3 halves in parentheses. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. Followed by the x, and then minus 1. From here, we'll go ahead and we will graph these, and we'll see if our window fits okay. And there we go. Alright, so this should hopefully make sense to us as we're looking at it. I'm going to go back to the y equals screen really quick. So our blue line is an absolute value, so we should expect to see that v shape to it. The other one, notice that this is a linear equation, so 3/2 is your slope times your variable minus your y-intercept, which is at -1. So again, let's go back. We can clearly see that our linear equation is going through -1. So it looks like maybe we only have one solution. It does look like things might actually intersect down here. So to be sure, I'm going to go into my zoom key, and I'm going to just do a quick zoom out. So in other words, I'm basically telling the camera to step back so I can get a little bit more of that picture in my frame. So either selecting 3 or highlighting 3 and hitting enter, it's going to take you out, and then you're going to hit enter again, and it's going to zoom things out a little bit further. So it does look like we have an intersection over here on the left, and then we'll have an intersection over here on the right. Let's go ahead and actually find those. So we're going to do the same process that we had done previously. We're going to do second, trace. I'm going to select option 5 here, and this time I'm just going to press 5. And I'm pretty close to the intersection that's on the right already, so I'm going to find that one first. So I'm on my first curve, and don't worry, the calculator automatically puts you on the first curve, or in other words, your blue function. We're going to hit enter, and then they've moved you automatically to your second curve. And again, it's pretty close to the intersection, so I'm actually not going to arrow anywhere from here. I'm just going to hit enter again. It's now saying, hey, do you want me to guess? And you're like, well, of course. And at this point, we do have, here is our answer. So we have 1.1428571. This is an approximate solution. So in situations like these, you may be asked to round your answers. So be mindful that when you encounter questions like this, maybe on homework or on a test, you might be asked to round your answer to the second decimal place, for example. And in this case, if I'm looking at the second decimal place, I have a 4 here. And rules state, with regards to rounding, I'm going to look to the number directly to the right, which is a 2. And if that number is anywhere between 0 and 4, I'm going to leave the 4 alone. But if the digit next to the 4 was 5 through 9, then I would round that 4 up to a number 5. In this case, since it's a 2, and if I were rounding this to the second decimal place, this would be at 1.14 as my answer. Let's go ahead and find the other intersection over here on the left. So again, second, trace. Either arrowing down to option 5 or just pressing 5 on your keypad. I'm going to get a little bit closer to where I think that intersection is. Again, you don't have to be right on top of the intersection. I think that's pretty good. I'm going to hit enter, and then it's going to automatically kick me over to the second curve, and you can kind of see it in this case because it changes color. If you have an older model of the calculator, everything is one color, which I guess kind of makes it a little bit harder to see that. So again, I'm pretty close to the intersection this time, so the calculator helped me out here. So I'm just going to hit enter. And again, our third question is, do you want me to guess the answer? And you're like, yes, please, by hitting enter again. And in this case, we did get a solution of -12. So again, we had an exact answer because this one does terminate. I can just write -12, and then we had our approximate answer of 1.14, roughly. I hope this video helped. If there are any questions with regards to how to work the calculator, please let me know. I'm more than happy to help.